Everyone, welcome back to LTV Lab. So today I am joined by Charlotte Tzabari, who is the CEO of Olive My Pickle. So a few weeks ago, I placed an e-commerce order from Olive My Pickle, and today we're going to talk about the customer journey as I experienced it as a new customer of the brand. So Charlotte, welcome into the lab. It's amazing to have you here.
Thanks, Elliot. Good to be here.
Yeah. So, Charlotte, my first question for you is this is one of my favorite episodes so far. We haven't recorded it yet, but this is one of my favorite brands that we've had on the podcast and that I've had the pleasure of ordering from. And it is a very unique, very interesting brand. So I would love if you can just take a minute, few minutes, and tell everyone who's watching how you came to start the brand, All of My Pickle, and I guess like
Yeah,
what the gap you saw in the market was that you were hoping to fill.
sure. I love to tell the story.
Yeah.
So we've been around for 15 years now. My husband and I started at the farmers market, actually. And I should say right off the bat, All of My Pickle makes and sells over 40 different kinds of fermented foods, pickles, sauerkraut, olives, kimchi. We have a whole line of pickle juice as well called live brine. So yeah, we started at the farmers market way back when, and for the first 8 years exclusively, that's all we did. It was sort of like a weekend gig type thing. Like I had my full-time job. Um, and then, we realized somewhere in there that we had a little bit more on our hands than just okay, some extra, money on the weekends. Um, we did not start out, to answer your question, like trying to actually like fill a need in the market so much.
Mhm.
We kind of like fell into this. My husband was homesick for his grandmother's pickles. And so he started making them on the counter at home. This was before, obviously, we started the business. And yeah, he would give them away and, share them. And we had a small farm at the time, like a urban micro farm, sort of a little life experiment we were undertaking. We put them out on the farm stand and they turned into everybody's favorite thing. So that turned into the start of the pickles and the olives being the exclusive business. And yeah, we moved into the farmers markets and away from the farm, and that was the start of All of My Pickle. So it wasn't until we were a few years in where we had a customer come up to us. She actually came to my husband Shy at the farmers market and talked about how the sauerkraut that she had been eating had totally resolved her digestive issues that she had been, dealing with for years and years. And then she started talking about fermented foods and live cultures and gut health and all of that. Um, and this was like 2013, so it was kind of right before gut health became this like big mainstream topic of conversation. But it was right in line with a few other things happening at the time, like Sandor Katz writing The Art of Fermentation and Michael Pollan publishing the book Cooked that has a whole section on fermentation, which then got adapted into the Netflix series. So all of that was like coming our way in culture. But right before that, we were at the farmers market just selling Shy's grandmother's pickles. So she told Shy that he came home and told me about this, and the lights kind of went on because I had heard about fermentation. But this whole time he was just making his grandmother's saltwater brine pickles. So I dove into, the internet and started sleuthing around, and that's when I realized, like, okay, this is actually a functional food. We can turn this into a natural food brand. So, that didn't happen in 5 minutes. It was over the course of the next, season that we realized that. So that's when we decided, okay, let's take this farmers market business that we have and turn it into let's like get serious about the branding and the story and the messaging and all of that. And then we endeavored to do retail, and which we did for the next sort of season of the business for a few years. But e-commerce really sort of entered the picture in about 2018. So 8 years in, we were like, all right, let's do this e-com thing.
Okay, yeah, that's a fascinating story, and I'm really happy you kind of bridged that gap because I was like, how'd you start at the farmer's market and then make the decision to sell pickles around the country? But it doesn't sound like it was
Yeah.
a snap judgment.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
No, we were at farmers markets actually up until last year. We have a pretty great e-com business, but the farmers market business, here locally, it really stopped being like our main source of revenue probably 5 or 6 years ago. But what it was like a live test market environment every single weekend. And really going to the farmers market is what, I mean, half of our products' names come from customers, describing them and or really just ideas for new products, questions that would come up would turn into blog posts later on. So it's really just not just creative inspiration, but like business development inspiration. That's what farmers markets gave us for so long, which is why we did them far past when I guess you could say we really needed to be there. So
Got it. I think that's so interesting, and it's something that's come up a few times on LTV Lab. And like for anyone listening to this, like you might not have a brand that like serves being in a farmer's market, but other things that we've heard on past episodes are like founders at your level, like still looking through customer support tickets, like to understand what the current state of operations, like customer feedback is. We've heard of founders who are like looking at all of the comments on their Facebook ads to see like what people are saying. And like the big thing that sticks out to me is like obviously like the natural fit for you guys because you started there was the farmers market, but like you stuck around in order to kind of have that serve as like a playground kind of for continuing iteration of the brand.
yeah, 100%. We stuck around for a long time, and yeah, like I said, it's really something to be able to look your customers in the eye, like week after week, year after year, and we did it over the course of like 12 years even, and that was the same 12 years where the topic of gut health and the microbiome went from like I would talk about these things like starting in 2013, and people would just sort of glaze over like okay, I'll just take the pickles. And then towards the end it was like they were coming up to us, hey, I just heard a news report and read this book, and a lot of our customers actually try to come to us for health advice, which we try to draw a little bit of a boundary there. But yeah, total change in like cultural understanding of these topics over that decade. Super interesting.
Yeah, and one of the things I was interested in that you were talking about before, Charlotte, was like obviously you guys started to get that taste from your husband's grandmother's pickles, and then like discovered the fermentation, like not fad because it's lasted for a long time and it is legit, but like understanding that part of the market as well came later as a new customer, and like we'll talk about my experience as we go through the episode, um, the taste is like what I
Mm.
was most drawn to and what I was most excited about. So like I wasn't a customer who came for the fermentation benefits, but I am curious, like anecdotally, or maybe you have the data to support this. Do you know what the split is in terms of like customer demo, customer
Yeah.
interest at this point between those two angles?
I don't have the data on it, but again, I kind of harken back to how farmers markets would always go. I would say it was about 50-50.
Okay.
Of course, people come for the gut health and then they fall in love with the taste, or they come for the taste and they realize, wow, I feel so much better having eaten these. So very quickly it turns into a blend of both of those, reasons why the customers are here. But I would say it's a pretty even split. Um, yeah, we call there's the gut health customers, and then there's the ones we call for the love of pickles. Or there's that foodie audience too that just wants to try, what people are talking about. I really firmly believe though that once you incorporate ferments into your life and experience the gut health benefits, that becomes the reason why you end up sticking around, which is why we have such great lifetime value.
Yeah. Okay. And we will get to that. Um,
Yeah.
okay. So I'm curious to hear, Charlotte, like you just spoke to those kind of like two factions of customers, but who would you define as your core customer demo today?
Yeah, so we have a few different like archetypes that we describe. There's really sort of that person on a health journey,
Mhm.
and it's not so much like a demographic, but it's like a boomer who had a health scare, whose doctor has said, okay, it's really time to get serious about this healthy lifestyle. They take to Google and they find us. Or it's the young mom who's trying to eat healthier, who maybe was overprescribed antibiotics in her 20s and has got dysbiosis and needs to get that going, get serious about taking care of that. So there's that sort of like health journeyer I would say, of the people coming for gut health reasons, that's the main reason. They're on a health journey. They know ferments are part of that journey, and that's what we're here for. So, yeah, does that answer the question?
Yeah, it definitely does. And like as a new customer, like what I'm curious about is again, anecdotally, like how much education do you think the average person who like comes to the website for the first time has on the benefits of fermentation?
Well, my answer would have been a lot different a few years ago. Now it's so much more mainstream. Like, influencers are on Instagram and, celebrity doctors have done the work for us that we were having to do 10 years ago. Um, so I think people are mostly primed and understand that, okay, this is basically, it's good for me. I'm supposed to be eating these healthy pickles. I've heard that there's healthy pickles. Are these those? So we actually spent a lot of time differentiating the difference between what we call the four different types of pickles. Um, of course, the number one being the functional food healthy pickle, which is fermented pickles,
Mhm.
and how to spot the difference there. So a lot of our content is around that, like the four different types of pickles, how to spot the difference, what to look for on labels. Um, that's like basic, like level 1A understanding. Yes, there's healthy pickles. Learn what they are and what they aren't, and choose the better ones for you.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Okay, my next question, Charlotte, is why do you believe that the average customer who buys from Olive My Pickle is deciding to buy from you guys and your brand versus buying what are like seemingly similar products that are available at like their local grocery store?
Yeah, I think well, there's why I hope they are, and it kind of goes into our value prop and what we've messaged to our customers, which is that incorporating ferments into your life, it shouldn't be like a fad or a phase
Hmm.
or like a season of life that you go through. This is really something to adopt at a lifestyle level, meaning you're doing this every day. Ideally, you're eating ferments every time you eat. That's the best time to eat them because
Hmm.
they aid in digestion. They've got the live enzymes that aid in digestion. So, if you're going to do something 3 times a day for the rest of your life, you're going to want to keep that, that interesting. And here we are with 40 different varieties to help, keep that habit kind of fresh and interesting. So, so I think the main difference of All of My Pickle, what we do differently, besides being really the only fermented food company that ships the way that we do, is that we have such a broad and wide variety of products. There's a lot of different fermented foods companies out there. Most of them will specialize in one type, one category. It's just pickles, or it's just sauerkraut, just kimchi.
Hmm.
Um, Almost like single or maybe 2 or 3 SKUs at the most of their kimchi or their sauerkraut. We've got 8 different categories, everything from, the pickles to the hot sauce to the live brine pickle juice. And then we have like depth of choices within each of those categories. Again, I think we're at 42 SKUs at this point. So that's why I think it's easy for them to like habituate and, stay in stock. And there's always kind of a next flavor to try.
Hmm.
Um, Somebody might have a favorite and stick with that for months, and then they're like, okay, what else do we have here? Let me like, get into this other one I've been curious about. So, versus I won't name any names, but like the pickles that you can buy at the store that are fermented, like you basically have one flavor. So, um, yeah, I think it's the breadth of the variety that we offer.
Got it. Yeah, and it is interesting how that does touch on both parts of the demo. Like for someone who is just in it for the flavor, like you are
Yeah,
checking those boxes for them to have more options. And then for someone who's on that like fermentation lifelong journey, potentially, you're offering
yeah,
that guarantee that like this is the one-stop shop where you're not going to get bored. And yeah,
right.
we'll take a look at like what the actual shopping experience looks like because I do think it lends itself really well to that kind of value prop. Um, cool. So like this is basically where we're getting into the start of my customer journey and how I experienced the brand for the first time through my shopping experience. So I went to the website and one thing I noticed, Charlotte, is you have a what's called like a zero, sorry, not a zero party date. You have a micro commitment pop-up form that's set up. where it's essentially asking if you want a discount, yes or no, and then it's asking for the email address after that. Have you heard of a zero-party data collection pop-up form, Charlotte?
Zero party data pop-up form.
Yeah.
No, this is new for me.
Okay. So for you and for anyone else who's watching, this is what a zero party data pop-up form looks like and why it can be so, so valuable. So basically, you might have seen these like as you are shopping on other websites. And essentially, like I feel like maybe zero party data is a little overly technical, but all it means is like you're asking a question at the beginning of your pop-up form and you're setting the stage of similar to what you have on the website, like you've got a discount available, and instead of just saying like yes I want it, you're asking for a piece of data that the customer is giving you, which helps you understand how you can personalize your messaging to them. And this is especially important like pre-purchase. So you're gonna have like your welcome flow in Klaviyo, like on the email SMS side of things. You're gonna have your abandonment flows. And this is where like one of my favorite questions that I try and ask whenever it's relevant on LTV Lab is, if you, Charlotte, could know one thing about someone who was landing on the website in order to help you basically like frame your sales pitch to them, like here's the products you should be looking to buy. Like these are the reasons why you specifically should be buying from Olive My Pickle and not from the grocery store. What would that like one thing be? Is there anything that jumps out?
Yeah, it's what we've been talking about. It would be, are you here for like gut health reasons or for the love of pickles? Um, for sure, because we assume they're both there, and
Yeah,
our content is centered around those two things all the time. But yeah, being able to hone in more on one versus the other would be the number one.
got it. Okay. Um, cool. So that makes perfect sense. And yeah, for anyone watching, like zero-party data pop-up forms are, I would say, like the gold standard today, in terms of pop-up form experiences, both for customers, because like customers love like talking about themselves. So if you are asking a question that like they're happy to answer, it's just a better experience than like that clicking like yes or no. But then also like it helps you actually guide them to that first purchase in a more personalized way, which obviously is going to lead to higher conversion rates. So that's really like where I would start. But as a customer myself who's visiting the website, like I was a taste over fermentation benefits customer. So without that, like I was kind of just like left to explore the site. Lucky for me, the website is gorgeous. So I don't know if you are the genius brain behind the design of the brand, Charlotte. But I just love everything about your branding. Like it's so fun. And I think like brands try like there's just an idea that especially as you're scaling, you kind of have to be more serious in a lot of cases. And I think like you guys don't take yourselves too seriously. And it's just fun. Like that's how I would describe the website experience in one word. Yeah.
I love to hear you say that. Staying fun is one of our five core values,
Mhm.
so it sounds like we hit it where the website's concerned.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just yeah, the branding and the elements, the illustration, this is like again, we've been like working towards this for we're in our 15th year now.
Mhm.
So it's the result of just years and years and years of like finding the illustrator who did our little custom drawings, our custom clip art here. Like that was one little step forward, and then yeah, the perfect font and just the falling pickles. Yeah, it was built over so much time. And then we did have, like, in my opinion, the world's most talented designer. Yeah, build this thing of beauty. So
Okay.
thank you for for appreciating.
Yeah, no, of course. Um, cool. So you have a really interesting website shopping experience, which I think I mentioned before. But the way that it works, and this was like surprising to me the first time, just because it's not what I typically expect. Like it is like a pattern interruption, I would say, in how people do shop. And I have a bunch of questions around that. But basically, like you have to build a box in order to place an order. So if I just wanted like pickles, let's say, and I just wanted, as an example, like the garlic pickles, I can't actually just buy, like, I can't click add to cart on the garlic pickles and check out. And essentially, like what you guys have as a system is you have a subscribe and save option, which I will have questions about, and then you have the one-time purchase option. So I placed a one-time purchase order, and I was able to figure this out, like as I was going through it. So it is like intuitive enough. But essentially, like you have this box which has a minimum of, I guess, yeah, it's three items on the pickle side. And then you've managed to like gamify this in a super interesting way where like every time you hit the maximum limit, I guess, for like that next stage, you get offered an incentive to add more products and then save an additional amount. So I just went ahead with the three that I ordered. It wasn't three pickles. We'll get to exactly what I ordered after, but just want to show everyone this like experience because it is really unique, like as a shopping experience. And like I did find it gamified in a way to where I enjoyed it. So basically, like once your box is full, I'll say like before getting to like cart checkout, um, the ingredients and the like information that I was searching for on the different types of pickles and like olives that I was looking for was extremely easy to find. So like you've managed to build this flow in a really like interesting way where you don't have to send people to like different product pages, which obviously would be a like wrench in the experience. So yeah, like overall, I'm giving you like all of your flowers here because I personally think that this is executed extremely well. Um, but outside of that, I would just ask, like, how was this decision made, first off? And then second, I'm really curious to know, like, how it's been generally received. So I don't know how long it's been live for, but like as a e-commerce lover, like e-commerce operator for a long time, my brain goes immediately to like, I'm so curious how this impacts conversion rates, and I'm so curious how this impacts AOV. So would love for you to just talk through like the mechanics of this.
Sure. So, yeah, you can't just order one item. It's a minimum of three, and then you can't do four or five. It's three, six, nine, or 12. And of course, you can buy as much as you want, 12
Mhm.
plus. But we frame it up like there's these four choices, these four tiers, and buy more and save, and then you can subscribe on top of that. Um, so it really started because we used to have, you could order just one, but then we would have to charge like a ton of freight on that one.
Mhm.
And so a ton of customer complaints about how expensive our freight was. And it was like, well, that's because you're just getting one, guys. So that created the need to like, all right, let's do a minimum of three. And then the 3, 6, 9, 12 just had to do with the fact that we wanted to streamline our cool packing material and our box sizes. And because we ship cool, not cold, like we're
Mhm.
not putting dry ice in there and styrofoam. It's not like meat or dairy, but it's also not a shelf stable product. So fermented foods kind of occupy this middle ground where if they stay cool enough in transit, that's perfect. That's safe. Everything's great. So we've got some wiggle room on that. But we do use an insulated packaging. And so to keep from having to buy, 60 trillion configurations of
Yeah.
boxes and very expensive packaging, we streamlined it and we're kind of forcing customers into these four choices. Really, it's the 12 plus, of course, you can go as high as you want. So that's where the idea came from. And then of course that created like this like finite, like tiered pricing like program for them to opt themselves into and kind of decide at the onset like what level they were comfortable with. Some things as we were building this that we went back and forth on was like when they come into this build a box experience, does it default at three or at six?
Mhm.
I've never wanted to be one of those aggressive marketers that like has things default at the most at on subscription at the highest box level, etc. But I also, we did try it at three and it tanked AOV. And then we put it at six, and of course AOV went up. So we haven't pushed that and tried nine yet, but
Yeah.
six feels about right. And customers figure out that they can go down or up. Um, so that was one sort of like decision along the way. The other thing you mentioned was we don't have PDPs.
Mhm.
So we have those like pop-up boxes with more information on these more category driven pages here. So I guess this is sort of like a PDP, but not in the classic sense. So the decision to route people through a PDP to build a box was a big should we or shouldn't we, knowing how, unconventional it is to not have a PDP. So yeah, that was just another like stop along the way of building the box experience. Um, yeah, and it's gamified. Like we've got the status bar with the little colorful
Mhm.
icons at the bottom and at the top. That's just a fun, like track your progress, and you can hover over those, and it tells you at the top, you can hover over them, and it tells you the name of your product. So, um, yeah, it is meant to be fun, and you know, that's reflected, I think, in we have a I think our site conversion, it's high right now because we're in the holidays, but I mean today it's I know it's not any one day, but I gotta brag because we've got great. So our conversion rate today is at a 5, and we're 4.2, kind of like as an everyday site conversion rate. Um, One of the big things that this Build a Box experience did was there is site conversion, yes, but really we wanted to see like who started adding to cart and then where did they drop
Yeah.
off? So that cart completion rate, like this experience based compared to what we had before, I think it raised our cart completion up. It's been a while since I've been tracking, but it was like 30 to 40%
Okay.
higher.
Huge.
Huge impact, yeah. And really before we launched this Build a Box, which was March of 2024, so we're past a year and a half now. Yeah, in March we'll be at 2 years with Build a Box. Yeah, I think our we were at like a 2.9 site conversion, and again we're into the fours now. So yeah, that's just a little bit of more about the decision making process, some of the different things, and why we did them.
Yeah, no, that's incredible context. And I think like there's a lot for people to learn from that. But like my biggest takeaway, and I love this so much, is just like having the confidence to like start from scratch and look at like an ecom experience. And like you can do this through so many lenses, but in this specific case, like y- you are using Shopify, correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I just think like the typical operating model that brands use and that founders use is like, okay, I installed Shopify and like these are the options I have available to me. How can I make the current tech and the current options work for my business? And I think it's just so clear. Like you kind of started from absolute scratch here, like blank page, to say like these are our business constraints and are what would make the most sense for our business. Can we build an experience that like aligns with our business versus fitting our business constraints into a box that's already been built?
100%. That's how we approached it. Yeah, what problems are we trying to solve operationally, and then let's build the website to support that,
Mhm.
just so we can, obviously be more efficient and cost savings and all that good stuff. One of the other big things that changed when we launched this was we took a massive price increase, and that's because before our former website, everything was priced, I think, at like 9.99.
Mhm.
We wanted to do this tiered, and in order to be able to offer something closer to 9.99, we had to, after you met certain tiers, we had to start super high. So overnight we raised our price from, I think, 9.99 to 15.49, and then built in that. So that was another sort of like gamble, knowing that we were going to flip a switch on our new website and boom, all of a sudden customers were going to see um, a retail of 15.49. We actually solved that by saying, I think it's like, what's the wording on the site? Let me just, I think
Yeah.
it starts 1084 or something, that from 1084. So
Okay.
that's just enough. I mean, that's kind of a common thing, where you publish your lowest price.
Yeah.
Yeah, even though it's actually higher when the customers get into the buying experience. So, um, yeah, you're taking me back to 2023 when we were eating, sleeping, breathing the website change. So,
Yeah. Well, it is great to see like tech is moving so fast, but something developed in 2023, which can feel like a really long time ago in the tech age, is still performing extremely well. And that conversion rate you cited is really strong. So like we work with over 20 for clients at this point, a lot in the CPG space, and I can tell you like that is a strong conversion rate with the benchmarks I have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It took a while, but we got here.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, I'm curious to know, and then I'll give you my feedback as a customer, Charlotte. What do you think the top two or three reasons are for why someone hesitates to place their first order?
I think definitely the first one was, will I like this?
Mhm.
Is this for me? Sort of that like, am I gonna like the way this tastes?
Yeah.
So we do spend a fair amount of time addressing taste, setting the expectation, describing the flavor notes of things. A lot of customer testimonials around, I wasn't sure if I'd like it, but I did.
Yeah.
Um, I think taste is the big one. I think, as far as, and this is, I'm going to speculate on this one. I think when people who are on a health journey or have a health problem and they're looking for a solution, there's that fear that, you're going to put hopes into something and it's going to help, but the hopes aren't going to be met. So I think that sort of, that fear of being disappointed or let down or, okay, it's not going to work. Nothing's worked. That's probably at work, I would say, just because there is, a functional food aspect to this, a
Yeah.
prescriptive aspect to eating fermented foods. Um, and then probably the third one is price. Because our pickles aren't $5, so you can buy much cheaper pickles, and those aren't really our customers we're targeting anyway.
Mhm.
So and I think, yeah, they're not cheap, but again, if you buy more, you can save, and then also because there's a functional aspect to these, and they're harder to find, these fermented foods, we can get around that one too usually. So
Got it.
those, I'd say those are the three.
Okay. I definitely like align with those. Like as the customer that was shopping the site, I think price was probably my number one, just in terms of like, is this worth the premium? And not even that I felt they were like too expensive. It was really just like, is this going to meet my expectation of what this premium price, like I imagine should be? And we'll get to my experience with the product, but it is delicious. um, so that was my first one. My second one was actually about the shipping. So I like was not. I know you mentioned that like they're like if they are shipped in a cool environment, like that fermentation process stays intact. Um, that was my number one question, which I don't think was addressed like too clearly. Just like I don't remember I remember still wondering like how is this gonna show up when I get it? Um,
Yeah.
and that was pretty much it. It was those two things. Yeah, for me.
So the shipping question, was it like, did it have to do with knowing that this was a must stay refrigerated product and not being sure like if the transit time was going to be a problem shipping something that needed to be refrigerated? Was that the
Yeah,
the thing? Okay.
exactly. It was just like, how do I know that by the time I get this, it's still, and I I think this might be the first time I've ever ordered food that like could be perishable across
Yeah.
such a long distance. And
Right.
I am curious, like, I don't like think that you will have the answer, but I'm super curious to know like how many people's first time it is. Because I think like everyone's gotten a lot more comfortable with ordering food and beverage online, but usually in a much less perishable state. And maybe
Right.
my like I'm I'm thinking that my misconception might actually be that like these pickles are more perishable than they actually are. Is that possible?
Oh, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. I think here in the West, we're very, risk averse to our stuff being even left out on the counter for 45 minutes, "Oh, no, it's gonna be bad," and, germs and all of that, but, yeah, fermented foods are super hardy, and it was how we ate
Mhm.
as a human species before there were refrigerators, so, I won't say that the concerns aren't completely, unfounded, but, yeah, they can survive out of the fridge for, a good long time just fine. Um, and yeah, unless it's really hot out or they,
Mhm.
they've been somebody's been handling them and introducing outside bacteria. Yeah, I wouldn't say you don't even need to refrigerate them because, if it's warm out, you do, but it's just like a bottle of wine. It's already preserved. It can hang out on your counter in almost indefinitely, in its preserved state. So ferments are a lot like that. It's better to stabilize them and put a fermented product in the refrigerator. But yeah, transit times set 5 to 7 days is like completely no problem. So, and that's a lot of our customer education after purchase, and then inbox
Hmm.
addresses that. Um, and it's difficult to educate on that pre-purchase, like on page, just because we do create one of the gallery images is like what to expect in the shipping of your products.
Hmm.
So we address it, but usually at that pre-purchase, there's, that's more of a, perhaps maybe not actually a secondary concern. So I think our order and shipment confirmation um, emails address it. There's even a video we made. We made it funny with bloopers at the end, so you'd watch it through.
Hmm.
And then you get your box, and it's open here and read the green sheet. And there's a cartoon of a pickle and an olive having a conversation about going in the refrigerator. Like everything we could do to like get people to pay attention to exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. No, 100%. I think it is like very well addressed after the order is placed. That was just like my one hesitation I want to point out, but like I don't know if like that average customer who comes to the site already knows that, which they very well might. Um, cool. The next thing I want to talk about, so I went ahead and I placed my order, but something I noticed when I signed up through the form on your site before actually going through with my order is the introductory offer that you had has changed between now and then. And the offer that I received was the save up to 35% when you subscribe and save. Now,
Yeah.
I think this is really smart just because at Dispatch, like we look at lifecycle marketing, email SMS marketing through the lens of trying to achieve like business level goals. And of course, like you're going to be able to drive higher LTV if you can get someone on a subscription. So there are brands that have subscription but make the conscious choice to say like take 10% off your first order, even though they have a
Yeah.
subscribe and save offer. I think this is a really good idea, but it opens up the conversation that I want to have, which is
Yeah.
just in general, like how do you think about where subscription lives within the broader context of the customer journey?
Yeah. So, great question. And we've changed it since this. Our
Hmm.
opt-in offer we've had three different ones this year, and we finally landed on a third one, which I'll talk about. Um, but yeah, it's subscription. When like I think it was 5 to 7 years ago, subscription was the big thing, and or it was like new on the scene ish,
Yeah.
and like we all jumped into being subscribers and then we got burned because you couldn't get out of it, or you kept getting duped into staying, and I don't know, maybe I just got burned. So I never wanted to be the marketer that like tricked people into subscribing,
Hmm.
or had a just it was toggled on all the time. So I think we probably erred on the other side. And like I also just didn't want people to take the money and run, which is the churn factor. So in a lot of our marketing and messaging, we've basically said like if you've established your daily your household consumption rate and found your favorites, it's time to subscribe versus really trying to get it on that first order.
Yep.
Um, so that's why it hasn't been like what we've led with, and that probably has resulted in our current stats. I think 35% of our orders are subscription at this point, which is fine. Again, we have a lot of repeat customers coming back and doing their standalone orders.
Hmm.
Um, so that's just a little bit of history, and why we haven't been so subscription centric here at Olive My Pickle. I guess I personally just haven't wanted to be a big pusher of that.
Yeah.
Um, so we had an opt-in offer before this one. It was a cashback offer,
Hmm.
which worked really, really well. And
Was that through
our
Fondue or Postscript?
yeah, it
Okay.
was do, yeah. And that is an incredible product. And to get if brands off of having to do that margin killing,
Yep.
discount on the first order, I would, preach to the masses that fondue's incredible for all those reasons. But we wanted to try this 35% off when you subscribe. Um, However, interestingly, when we did this 35% off deal, our welcome flow, which was one of our top producers, it actually, I mean, it decreased by like 40%, which
Yeah.
took this major hit. Um, and so we have since changed it, and we realized the word free works really well around here. That's like all of our offers are you get a free product. We
Okay.
never do like 25, 35 off for sales. For subscription we do, but not for sales. It's always like buy X, get Y, buy six, get one free, buy nine, get two free. Um, 12, you get three free. That's our standing offer. So our new welcome offer now is first time orders get a free live brine, which is our pickle juice. And we just launched this like 3 weeks ago. So that's the arc of our opt-in offer and kind of the why behind like our kind of like MO around subscription here at OMP.
Got it. Okay. Well, thank you so much for all of that context. Something I think is really interesting is we typically A/B test this, like for all of the partners that we work with that subscription, because what we have found fundamentally is like there are some brands where you basically have like two angles here. If you are gonna have like a percentage off, or if it is something like that is like in the free direction that you've gone. Let's say it's like a percentage off. Like you're either gonna say take 10% off your first order, or you're gonna say take 35% off when you subscribe and save, or in your case, like free versus 30% off. In one of those, you're guiding people towards their first purchase being like a subscription. And in one of those, like it's just more open ended where you can like claim this offer on a one time purchase. And what we found is like there are some brands that are a lot more elastic, I would say, to that price, where like the subscription offer isn't as scary. So like there is a higher conversion rate in the welcome series when you offer that like 35% off, because the number like that is inflated at 35 compared to 10% off, or like get something for free, balances the fear around the subscription more. But like that only happens in, I don't know, maybe half the cases like that we run that test. So I think it's really good that you were able to look at those numbers and identify that like for you guys, like the fear around the subscription language and like the subscription offer at the end of the day does outweigh the higher percentage off. And I do think what's interesting is like when I look at it, and as a customer, when I look at your subscription offering, as someone who falls into that taste part of the demo instead of the fermentation benefit part of the demo, um, I'm much less likely to start a subscription for something, whether it's my first order or second or third, based on the taste aspect, versus what I imagine someone on the other side of the demo who wants the fermentation benefits and is going to be consuming multiple times a day is going to be
Yeah.
interested in. Like that, like outside of just savings, the subscription benefits that honestly a lot of brands like underplay, which is like you'll never have to think about like going to the site and shopping for this again. It's just going to be delivered on autopilot so that you can get the benefits you want. I imagine that side of the demo gets a ton more value out.
Yeah, those are interesting thoughts. And I've never actually thought about the aversion to subscription for customers coming for the love of pickles and not for health benefits, which is another good argument for doing the survey at
Mm-hmm.
the onset. I like that. I think the other thing when you're selling a consumable food
Mm-hmm.
versus a supplement or maybe like a beverage that has just like an easy unit to kind of think about, like what, like one soda. It's I don't know if it. I think what keeps people from subscribing early with us is maybe not knowing like sizes and how long is this going to last for and how many do I just need a serving. I just
Yep.
need to like get an order first and figure out if I like it, and then how much I'm eating, how much my system can tolerate. So I don't know if yeah, the portioned food that is really like really primed for early subscription versus like I said a supplement or even like a beverage. So the just kind of thinking out loud here.
Yeah, no, that's a lot of the value of LTV Lab, just kicking around these ideas. So sounds good. One thing I did notice though is like subscription was like very rarely, if at all, talked about in any of like the emails I received throughout the customer journey after placing my first order. And I know you said that you like don't want to push it on people. Um, but I do like believe that there's probably a much bigger opportunity in selling people who are like loving their first, second, third order on that subscription within like those first 30 days of the consumption aspect. So I'm just curious to know if that's like a conscious choice where like if they're going to see it on the website and if they want to subscribe, they can. But like we don't want to go out of our way to push them towards it.
Yeah, so it's interesting again that you bring this up because January actually marks a shift in subscription strategy for us. So this is going to change up again. We're going to start to really push it sooner and right there at post purchase, um, and begin to really measure our subscription business, which we really haven't done yet. So yeah, I think our lack of putting it in post-purchase is we know we're gonna sort of layer it in down the road in our weekly campaigns, et cetera.
Mhm.
Um, and but yeah, this is a reflection. The fact that it doesn't appear too much here, and it's not aggressive enough, it just isn't, is because of really, frankly, my lack of wanting to push it.
Yeah.
But we're changing that in January. So we're not completely flipping to the other side, but we're gonna definitely be putting the subscription option in front of people earlier and more forcefully.
For sure. And I do think like your aversion based on what you described as like kind of being related to your personal experiences of getting caught into some like gotcha like subscription programs that like weren't entirely in your best interest is something that a lot of founders, CEOs that I've met like can sometimes like I don't want to use the word like shoot yourself in the foot, but like it kind of feels like that way sometimes where I'll speak to brands who don't have a pop-up forum and the founder's just like, I find pop-up forums annoying, so I don't want a pop-up forum.
Right.
And there's like thousands of email addresses that can be retargeted, slipping through the cracks. And that's where like I just try and challenge brands, especially when it comes to subscription, to think of it just like through the lens of the benefits. Like it's not just about the savings, like why is it in your customer's best interest if they are the right
Yeah.
person that's a fit for subscription to subscribe, and if it is in their best interest, like why not go out of our way to let them know about it? Yeah.
Yeah, I actually agree with that. Like, if I remove myself from the equation, it's true. Like, if I truly believe, like, our mission, which is to spread the word about fermented foods and like share them with people so they'll love them for life, like, yeah, like everybody should subscribe so that you never miss a day. So yeah, on that level, can completely get on board with it, and I am a true believer. Um, and yeah, it's funny as a founder, it's just this ever process of almost taking yourself out of the equation and
Yeah.
hiring more objective people than you are and smarter people than you are to like, push you in a direction you wouldn't otherwise go.
Yeah, 100%. um Okay, my next question. So I placed my order. I started getting post-purchase emails, and yeah, we are kind of talked about it at a high level. Um, the next step was actually like, receiving my order. So I received my order, and I have a video that I actually want to pull up because I can pull my video into Figma here. But there's been a lot of time and effort clearly put into like the thought behind the unboxing and packaging experience that you guys have. And I just want to play this over here. So first off, like we have our like box that came in, and like the branded box is always nice, just like from a customer experience perspective. And then like we have the first video where opening it up. So like first off, like you have just solid information in here that is like very helpful to understand. The one thing that like we can talk about this after, but the one thing that I'll call out at this point is I was so excited to try the pickles that I didn't read any of this. I was like, oh, this is like a great touch and this is like nice and really well branded, but I didn't read it and then I didn't come back to it, unfortunately. But like that's kind of the value of LTV Lab, just giving you the honest customer
Oh, yeah.
here. Um, but it's just an immediate like, whoa, like there's so much in this box where it's not like what you typically expect. And this I did take the time to read because it wasn't like a massive wall of text and I could read it in 2 seconds. And this I really enjoyed. Like, I think there is absolutely something to be said still in 2025 of brands benefiting from like the like tying themselves into the identity of being a small business. And I'm not even saying that All of My Pickle is a small business. What I'm saying is like this is not an experience you get when you shop at your massive chain grocer. Like this is something that is immediately bringing me in to the world of the founder and the person who's like directly responsible for creating these products. And this like genuinely as a customer created like an immediate feeling of like, oh, okay, like I'm buying something really genuine, and these aren't like mass manufactured, or at least like that wasn't my expectation. Um, a bunch more information here, which again, very transparently, I did not read just because it was a lot of text, and I really want to just try the pickles. Um, then you have these ice. They're not ice packs. What are they? Ice packs? What's the official terminology?
Well, that's the insulation right there.
Yeah,
It's biodegradable. And then there are ice packs inside, gel packs.
got it.
Yeah.
Okay, how difficult was figuring out the shipping aspect?
So difficult. I mean, I think that's why we are where we are because nobody else is insane enough to have undertaken this. Um, I just can't even tell you how many refunds we've given, how many reships. Yeah, so difficult. Yeah, but
Okay,
it's just like we had already committed to it and
yeah.
we're in so deep that we just kept going, me and Shy. So yeah, took a long time.
Yeah, but honestly, I love hearing that just because like there are so few like moats left in commerce and like doing the harder things that
Yeah.
other people are not willing to do or are not willing to like invest in for the long term, like is one of the few moats left that exist. So that just makes me really confident about like where the business is heading. Um, that's really
It
right.
yeah. It's fermentation, number 1 is a simple process, but it's very, very difficult to get right, especially fermented cucumber pickles, very difficult, and then shipping them and educating people about them. Both of those things are just like, 10 out of 10, super hard. And I say that from 15 years of experience. So, yeah, we did not pick an easy path. But again, we're here now, and this is why we're, able to be the leader in the space. Because again, it's just like not something a lot of people will do.
Yeah, no, I love that. Um,
Yeah.
when it comes to the actual packaging of the product, I again like love your branding and like I like didn't think much of this other than like this is like what I was expecting looks good. I was with three people when I opened this. So I was with my mom, my girlfriend, and a friend of my mom's who was at her house. And the three of them all had the same reaction, which is why isn't it shipped in a jar? Like I think that's very much the connection to like what people are used to seeing, just like pickles in a jar or olives in a jar. And I think like what they were getting at is like I want to see the pickles inside. Like it's just different, which I'm sure you know. And I'm curious to know like what the process was of like this type of packaging. Maybe it's just easiest to ship, or maybe there's like another reason why. And again, like from my customer perspective, I'm the one who paid for them. I didn't get anything of it, but I did find it interesting that like I got the same reaction from several people there.
Yeah, that's a great point and a super valid question. We do hear it a lot. We actually started off in glass jars when we were doing our, attempts at selling to grocery stores. We were
Mhm.
in glass jars. Moving to flexible pouches, which you see flexible pouches now everywhere. But you're right, not so much. There isn't, I believe, another pickle company doing it. I have seen sauerkraut on the shelves in flexible pouches now. But yeah, 7, 8 years ago when we switched from glass to the flexible pouches, it was for a couple reasons. Breakage in transit with glass, number one, which would to avoid that, we'd have to wrap the glass jar in like 3 layers of plastic bubble wrap, kind of like, undermining the whole point of going with glass over plastic. And then, so, so we're like, let's just switch to flexible pouches. Also, fermented foods are alive, which means they move, grow, and change. They actually exhibit behaviors. And one of those behaviors in transit is gas, like ferment gases. So pouches can puff up. a little bit. And, if you're in a glass jar and you're gassing up, yeah, something could crack, break, and leak. But it just puffs in a pouch, which is a lot easier to get around. You just like open it a bit and like release the air, and you're good again. So the gassiness of a ferment, the breakage, and yeah, those are the two primary reasons. And um, also, it's, if we were gonna, uh, pack these into a box, they move. You can like squish them in there. It's
Yeah,
just a little easier to like judge a package when you can actually have a flexible pouch. So those are the reasons.
got it. Okay. Well, like I completely approve of those reasons. I had a feeling they were based in some like experience and very like logical conclusions that you guys came to. So I will pass those along to my mom and my girlfriend and my
Yeah.
mom's friend. Um, cool. I'm curious to know, like, based on the overall unboxing packaging, like, how valuable do you view that moment in the customer journey as a whole?
Yeah, I think it's hugely valuable. Um, Yeah, and that's probably why we over communicate. And I know we send a lot of paper and a lot of information, and it's my hope that people like, save it, and maybe they can't read it right at opening, but
Mhm.
it'll sit there and then they can circle back to it, because I'm that way as a consumer. It just depends when you catch a person.
Yeah,
Um, so there's also just such an educational component to fermented foods, unlike something just more predictable, more understood, which is why we overeducate. And every single question on this paper came from a customer calling us, asking this dozens and dozens of times, if not hundreds. So um, yeah, that's just a little bit about that.
got it. Okay. Overall, like in terms of my customer experience, um, I definitely like thought it was a lot more than what I was expecting. Like something we talk about on LTV Lab a lot, is just like it, like a lot of things in life comes down to like the reality versus your expectations. And like I think you guys have gone like above and beyond, in terms of fulfilling those expectations. And I also like could tell right away that there was a lot of care. So like I told you, like my initial hesitation was like, are these going to be good in transit, and be edible, obviously, like by the time they get here? Um, and that question might be like misguided. Um, but as soon as I saw the way that it was packaged, I could just tell that like there was obviously good intention behind
Mhm.
like answering that question positively. Um, yeah, cool. Okay, so I have my order at this point. Curious to know, how do you think about the role that email and SMS play in driving like business level growth?
I mean, yeah, it's our best, and yeah, our best channel, email. I want to send more emails. I'd send an email every single day if I could talk my email marketing team into it. Um, yeah, email's incredible. It's alive and well and thriving, and all that good stuff. Yeah, SMS is a little, gotta be a little more careful with that. You're
Hmm.
showing up in someone's phone. Although these days, I don't know, brands are blowing up my phone all the time, and I just, ignore, and I have a bunch of unread messages. We probably all do at this point. So I know a few years ago with SMS, there was a lot of like, you need to be really mindful about hours, and of course that's still true to an extent, but yeah, I've just noticed a pretty big increase in aggressiveness on SMS. So yeah, those are just some like cursory thoughts. Yeah, super important. Email is super super
Yeah.
important. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you might have to send me in to talk some sense into your email team, just because if you want to be sending more and they're talking you out of it, I'm very curious to understand the rationale. And I can give you my like customer perspective, but also my lifecycle marketing expertise. There were like big gaps in uh terms of the timing of when emails were received, and like that could be because of the segmentation. Um, but I can absolutely tell you, like there was room to email a lot more frequently. So like November 2, and then outside of like a shipment notification, like November 2, November 11, like without anything, November 11, November 21, and then things picked up a little during Black Friday. I can tell you, so we at Dispatch, like my agency, we've sent over a billion emails. We've generated over $50 million in email marketing revenue over the last 3 years. And this November, specifically for BFCM, we start our offers pretty early, but like more than that, we sent at least 25 emails throughout the month for all of our clients and like our higher revenue generating clients. We sent over 35 emails for. And the reason why is just because you said it, like I think you mentioned on the SMS front, where like brands are getting more aggressive. On the email front, the amount of volume that is required to be competitive in November specifically, when like everyone, as in like people competing with our clients, are sending an email every single day, or even like multiple times a day. I was really surprised, especially around Black Friday, to like only receive one email about the offer. And I'm just curious to know, like in general, what your team's cadence, like pushback is on a higher cadence, and also just like how you think about communicating like promotions.
Okay, so did you check all your spam folders and make sure you got 100% of our emails? Because I'm pretty sure we send more than one Black Friday email.
I did check my
There was,
spam folder. It's possible I missed it. I would argue, like, just like from the customer perspective, like normally I wouldn't check my spam folder for it. So it
yeah,
kind of be relevant, but I am curious still on like the cadence discussion.
yeah. So I know we've got there's our post purchase, and then there's our win back, and these are obviously flows. So I think that the dialogue
Mhm,
here with the team is we send like three campaigns a week, and then we understand that most customers are also receiving some level of flow to some degree.
mhm.
So that's four, potentially five a week. So I guess that seems pretty good. Although, like I said, when we first started talking about this, I think we could probably do it every day. Um, yeah, I'm kind of looking at the cadence here. I think that is a really big gap between November 5th and 11th. I'm wondering, I would want to check this, but like you're in post purchase here, and then that
Which
looks
one
like a
of these
camp.
would you think would be? Because I was assuming like these would be campaigns. This one I figured was post purchase, but I thought like
Yeah,
the running out and the flu season's no fun were campaigns. This would be
yeah,
post purchase, like FAQ. Um,
yeah,
yeah. So, but this honestly is a lot of the value of LTV Lab, where like there is like one of the big sayings in email marketing world is like most brands simply like due to resource constraints, like most brands and agencies treat automated flows like a like set it and forget it approach. So like they set them up, I don't know how long ago, but then like don't really keep an eye on like what's happening too well. And there's just this assumption of like, well, we have this set up, so it's running, but like at the end of the day, like Klaviyo is really a black box where like there's so many settings, so many filters and flows, so many things like going on in campaign sending that can impact like what emails people are going to see or not see when it comes to the flows. So it is just a good checkpoint, I would say, like for any other brands watching this to like
yeah.
keep up uh, like monthly with what's going on, like on the flow side of things. And yeah, I would just say like if you think this doesn't represent the cadence you would expect to see, it likely is because of one of those scenarios, which is either like something going on with the settings and the flows that stopped me from receiving some emails, or something on the segmentation side that meant I wasn't receiving the campaigns that you might have expected me to see, or they were in spam. Third option.
Yeah, I want to look into it. If you go over more to the right,
Mhm.
is there more on Black Friday?
No, and
Is
that's
there
why
a
I was so surprised. I love this Hanukkah email, by the way. But
great?
yeah, I was really, really just because like we generated so much revenue for clients throughout November and specifically like around BFCM, and I was really surprised to only see one like email highlighting
Yeah.
Black Friday here.
I'm gonna check into that because I know that
Yeah.
we had three, I thought three or four. I mean, then we did the whole countdown too. So
Hmm.
yeah, there should be. more of a Black Friday series,
Yeah.
which I'm gonna look into.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Um, Cool. On the so you answered like the email and SMS side. On the like total business side, I'm just curious to know like what are the core marketing metrics that you're currently focused on improving going into 2026? So like is it customer acquisition costs, getting that down? Is it like getting repeat purchase rate up, getting more people to subscription? What are like the really high level business goals?
Yeah, so I guess starting at the beginning with growth and new customers, new customer ROAS is a big one, more so than overall ROAS. We're pretty much just obsessed with new customer ROAS. Yeah, cost of acquisition for sure. We're in a scaling mode right now, so all of that is obviously in flux because of that and changing expectations on yeah, what's healthy based on spend being so much more today and next month than it was even a few months ago. Um, yeah, so for growth, yes, it's cost of acquisition and LTV, soon to be subscription metrics, I guess take rate and um length of time someone stays subscribed, churn, all that good stuff there. Um we're going to be introducing some like a new loyalty program in like late Q1. So that'll have another like set of, metrics and KPIs that we're not quite there yet on establishing that, but that's just another focus. Um, so I guess those are sort of the big ones off the bat. We're going to be more focused on retention this year and increasing like the strength of our LTV even more. We have a really strong LTV business now, but with subscription being focused on in January and Q1, yeah, even more of a focus there, and that's where that loyalty comes in also with retention. So yeah, I don't know if I said anything, if I was a little too broad brushed on all that, but those are the focuses now.
Yeah, no,
I can go.
definitely not too broad. Like I think that makes a lot of sense. I think like everyone watching can probably resonate with a lot of those goals. Um, cool. My last question that I have for you, Charlotte, is and this is going into my customer experience because I'll tell you how I felt. But after 2 weeks of a new customer receiving their first order, how do you hope that Olive My Pickle has influenced that new customers either like food routine and how they're like, thinking about the brand, thinking about pickles, etc., or their gut health habits?
Yeah, my hope is that people see eating fermented foods daily as something that's fun and kind of inspiring and makes them feel like they have power over their health versus, being depressed about how hard everything is when it comes to being healthy. No, we want to have like the exact opposite of that. That's the fun factor. So I'm hoping that that fun is happening and that there's curiosity there, that people are talking about it, and sharing their favorites, and of course, that by the time our request to leave a review comes at like, day 17 post purchase, they're feeling better and they're super stoked and they love everything they tasted. So, yeah, and they're just, they're shopping on the site for their very next order. So it's all that. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Cool. Well, I can definitely tell you, like, from my experience, like, the biggest aha moment, I would say, is like the moment that I tasted the pickles for the first time. They absolutely lived up to my expectations of like what I would say like premium pickle, in my opinion, should taste like in terms of being X amount better than what I get at my grocery store. So the quality was great, and like I started eating them right away. And obviously like, sharing them with everyone else who was around the table who all agreed like this is way better than grocery store pickles. So that was the big one. I would say like, on the olive side, these are ordered for my girlfriend, so I didn't taste the olives, but she also said these were amazing. And then I had the red and ginger fermented sauerkraut as well. And this one I like got for the fermentation element just to kind of see like what the deal was. I didn't love it, but like it's not something that I'm probably going to love at any point in my life.
Sure.
I'm not like the biggest sauerkraut fan. But I do think like this is still sitting in my fridge right now. And I do think like when it comes to the customer journey, at this point, I can definitely tell you, like, I learned a lot more about the benefits of fermentation and like the benefits of keeping it in my diet on a daily basis and potentially eating fermented foods like multiple times a day more in this last hour talking to you about all the benefits than I did in like the 30 days like post purchase. And I would just say like when it comes to an opportunity to foster those like actions and like new beliefs that you were talking about, when we look at like what I did hear from the brand versus like messaging that might have supported um, going like literally just like finishing the fermented product that was in my fridge because of the benefits that I would experience and not necessarily the taste. I do think like that's the big opportunity that stands out to me. And I think like you are like the email marketing that you're currently doing is very similar to how a lot of brands approached email marketing, I would say, which is like the content's very good. Like the design, the copy, really strong, branding's extremely strong. Like on the content side, it's good content. I think the big opportunity, like I said, and this is what a lot of other brands kind of just like don't think about too much when it comes to email and SMS is like how can we use these tools and these touch points to support our like broader life cycle marketing goals. And I think like the biggest thing that probably goes under estimated is it's really easy for brands to say like but we like went out of our way to like include the information in the packaging and like we have this information in our website and like we included it on the day that you placed your order potentially like in a video. And I think it just like that belief system underestimates like how much people are paying attention and how often we need to remind people of the benefits that aren't top of mind for them in order to really build that new identity and new habit. So I'd say like from my customer perspective, like I love the taste of what I had tried, but when it comes to like the benefits of fermentation, which I completely believe in listening to you, like can have a big improvement on like my gut health and my overall health, that wasn't something that I took away from the last 30, 45 days. I would say if that makes sense.
Okay. So you think more informational emails about gut health and like rationalizing why you need to keep eating these and to stick with it would been we have opportunity for more of that messaging more often.
Yeah, and I would say for sure, like if you have those data points to know if someone's buying for taste or for gut health, like if someone's already buying for gut health, you still want to be educating them on like exactly what the pickles or the fermented products that they bought are doing in their system. Because like the truth is, like you're probably not going to feel the benefits in one day, right?
Right. Yeah.
Right. So that's where like there's like a big cohort of customers that you definitely have because every brand that we work with like has these customers where they're gonna try it once, they're gonna like the taste, but they're not gonna realize that like this is a long-term plan and process that they're buying into. And the number one thing I would ask like any brand who's watching this to take away from like how do we drive higher repeat purchase rates for a replenishable product is like get the customer to get the benefits that they were looking for out of the first purchase. So, like I said, like when it comes to taste, like I would happily buy these again, like buy the pickles again, because like I love the taste. But when it comes to the fermentation benefits, and like especially because even if you like I am buying for the taste, the premium that I'm paying gets justified by like letting me know like not only do these taste great, but you're actually doing yourself a massive favor by keeping these in your diet. And on top of that, here's why the fermentation process that we use is different and better than you would get with the pickles that you buy from the grocery store. And I think that's ultimately the like thing that hasn't been drilled into me at this point is like why my life will be better if I continue consuming these products, especially if like I don't love them and I didn't buy them for the taste, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I'm taking some notes as you're talking.
Yeah.
Yeah. All that makes a lot of sense. That tracks. Yeah, it's hard when you're so close to something for so many years to really be able to see where there might be gaps. Because I would have said if you had asked me like, "Oh yeah, we're hitting gut health like all the time." Like absolutely all the time.
Uh,
But it sounds
um,
like we could do that more. Yeah.
A million percent. And like that's why so often the people who are like the worst, ironically, at like telling the brand story and selling the brand are the people inside of it because like everything's so obvious to you. Like of course our fermentation process is the best. Of course you're gonna like have all of these amazing benefits if you're consuming fermented products multiple times a day. But to the average person, like maybe they'll see it on your website and maybe they won't. And even if they do read it once, like they probably need to hear it 20 times before
Right.
it becomes ingrained. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's some good solid feedback.
Yeah. No, my pleasure. That's what we're here for. Um, cool. I think we can wrap it at this point. Did you have any questions about the customer journey for my end, Charlotte, or all clear?
Um, no, this has been a great conversation, and I have your email. If anything pops up, I'll definitely like reach out and ask. But yeah, this has been like super fun and yeah, valuable. And like hearing your objective feedback's been yeah, it's good stuff.
Okay, well, yeah, it was my pleasure. So thank you everyone for tuning in to this episode of LTV Lab. Thank you to Charlotte for coming on. And everyone go buy some pickles from Olive My Pickle because I promise you will not regret it. Cool. See you in the next one, everyone.